Stylish Designs, and this is lesson 7 of Make Your Daughter a Dress. It's officially spring outside, although there's still a few patches of snow, but the daffodils are poking their little heads up. So Easter is not too far away, but we're in good shape. Our bodices are done, and today we are going to start work on our skirts. And we're going to do the skirt placket. Now, a lot of people are afraid of plackets, but this one's really simple, and there's just a few quick little hints and tricks that you'll be able to put it together with no problem. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So first up, before we remove our pattern piece, we want to make sure we mark our fabric. So again, I'm going to use snips where I can. I'm just going to snip right here to mark the pocket, and I'm making 2 just in that seam allowance, only about 1/8 of an inch. Now another way you can mark this is to use your blue marking pen and put a pin through it and then open up, and on the wrong side just make a little dot right where that pin is. Okay, besides my pocket, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark on both. I have both skirts here, the front and the back, and I'm just going to take a little snip again to mark center front. Now on just one skirt, which is going to be my back, I'm also going to make a little snip here on this line. That's going to be our skirt placket line. And the last thing I need to mark is down here. You'll see, actually let me turn it around so you're looking right side up. You'll see there's a little slash, and you need to mark that. Now do not mark that by cutting your fabric. Okay, and I'm making a size 3 dress, so I'm going to mark the slash for sizes 3 to 6, not 7 to 12. And I'm just sticking a pin in right where that slash mark is into the fold. I'll put the pattern piece aside. And I'm going to open it up to the wrong side and get my purple marker, and I'm putting a dot right on the fold line right where that pin is. Get rid of the pin. I have a little bit more marking to do. So with my ruler and my purple marker, first of all, I'm going to make that dot a line so it's a little bit more pronounced for me. Then I'm going to go that from where I made that little slit in the fabric, and I've got 2 of them. They're 1/4 inch either side of the center front. And I'm going to draw a line from that little slit down to my dot. And I'm going to do that on both sides so that I'm creating a nice V shape for myself. Okay. On my skirt placket piece, I've drawn a line parallel with the long edge and 1/4 inch away from it, and I've used my purple marker for that. I've marked the center dot, and I've pressed the other long edge 1/4 of an inch to the wrong side. I'm here at my machine. I'm using my regular foot and a straight stitch, but I've shortened it a little bit down to 2. I'm going to sew on this V. So I'm going to back tack at the beginning, go down to this point, take 1 stitch across the point, and then stitch back up the other side of the V. Okay, I'm right on that point. I've put my needle down. I'm going to lift my presser foot. I'm going to pivot so that my presser foot is parallel with the waist edge. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to walk it one stitch. So my needle's down again. Again, I'm lifting my presser foot. I'm pivoting, and I'm now going to stitch up the other side to the edge. Okay, and I back tacked as you saw. Okay, now I'm going to take my embroidery scissors and I'm going to cut right on that center front line. It's okay, you can do this. Right on down all the way to that point, but I'm not going to cut the stitching. So I'm going to go really down, really close, but no, I'm not cutting the stitching. Okay. And we're going to open it out so it's almost straight. Okay, I'm now going to take the placket and I'm going to put it right sides together with the skirt. And I'm going to pin the marked line. I'm going to line that up with the stitching that I just stitched. So what that means is at the top here, at either end, the raw edges are going to be even, okay? Now, your placket is longer than the skirt, so you will have some hanging off at that end, but at the waist seam, the placket and the skirt both will have that 1/4 inch. They'll line up here. So I'm going to pin there. And then I'm just going to work my way down, and I'm going to line up that marked line with the stitching. And what that means is as I go down, the raw edges along here are not going to be even, because if you remember, we stitched a V, so of course it isn't the same width all the way down. But that's what we want to do. Okay. And I'll show the other side to you in just a second so you can see what I'm doing. I'm actually put the pin through the line, and then I'm sticking the point through the stitching. Okay, and you see I have quite a bit extra. Now that's partly because I'm making a 3, and the placket is for sizes 3 to 6, but you should have some extra. So here's the skirt side facing up, because I want you to see how it starts out where these raw edges are lining up, but as I get down here, you see it falls away, and the placket piece is farther away, and then you see I've got all this material here, and then going back up again, the placket is sticking out from the raw edge, and then as we get towards the top, the raw edges are lining up again, and that's how you want it. So now we're going to go sew it, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I'm at my machine. I have my 1/4 inch foot on, but you can use your regular stitch foot. I have the placket on top. and the skirt on the bottom, and I'm going to be stitching right along that purple line. I've also taken my marker and I've put a dot right at where that V is. So this pin is catching that V, and that's right where I'm going to be essentially pivoting and going up the other side. Now I also have the whole skirt in my lap, and this part till I get to this center pin is completely flat, and I'm going to use my hand to pull all that fullness towards me. Okay, let's start stitching. So I'm going to back tack, and then I'm just going to go right along on that purple line. And I'm coming up on that base of the V. I'm going to go right up. Not taking the pin out to the last second. Okay, I've stitched all the way down to I'm right at the center dot, and I've put my needle down right into the dot. I'm going to lift the presser foot, and I'm going to shift all of the material of the skirt to the back, and that's going to let me straighten the rest of this out. And then I'm just going to keep stitching to the end. And I'm going to back tack. All right, let's see what we have. Okay, here's my placket. I hope you can see when you turn it to the right side, the placket's going to go up like that. And so we're just trying to make sure that there's no folds along here, and there isn't. Okay, and you can see it's also caught. I don't have any holes. So I just wanted to stop for a minute and just explain. When you did your initial line of stitching with the when we were putting the placket and the skirt together and we were stitching down that purple line, if you didn't catch here at the point and when you looked at it you had a hole, then the way to solve that is go back to your machine and stitch it just at this V part, but this time stitch it with the skirt facing up and the placket down. Your placket won't shift because you have the majority of it sewn, and you'll be able to see right where you need to catch it that way. Just remember when you're doing that tip of keeping all of the bulk toward you, then when you add that V, put your needle down and move the bulk of the skirt to the back. And that'll make sure that you don't end up with some sort of nasty fold right in here. Okay, here's my placket. I hope you can see when you turn it to the right side, the placket's going to go up like that. And so we're just trying to make sure that there's no folds along here, and there isn't. Okay, and you can see it's also caught. I don't have any holes, so that's what you're trying to achieve. And from this side, you can see it goes, you see it just catches it right there. Okay. All right, I'm at the ironing board, and I'm just going to press the seam flat as always, and then I'm going to press the placket away from the skirt. pulling it. And I'm not really pressing down right at the point, just getting it like that. Then I'm going to take this folded edge and I'm going to bring it to the wrong side, and I'm just covering that line of stitching. Pin that in place. Do the same thing over here. Okay, and on this side, same thing. Straighten it out. Put one right there in the center. Now, some patterns will tell you at this point to go edge stitch this down right along this edge. If you would like to try that, go right ahead. I find it doesn't usually work, and I end up with folds. I end up on the right side catching the fabric, and it just doesn't look right. So my preference is to just hand stitch this down, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Okay, so here I am. I've taken my all-purpose thread, I've put it in one of my sharps, and I've knotted it. And I'm going to start at one edge, and I'm just going to come up in just that folded over piece, because that hides my knot. And this is, I'm going to take a couple little whip stitches because I'm in the seam allowance, so nothing will show here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just grab 2 to 3 threads of the skirt and then go into the fold of the placket and travel through the fold of the placket about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to continue along like that. Grab a couple threads, kind of scoop down into the placket, and then travel about 1/8 of an inch through the placket. Come on up and just keep repeating it. And it really will only take me a couple minutes. And by doing it this way, when I get down to that point, I won't end up creating a fold in the skirt, which I probably would do if I machine stitched this. Okay, so let's finish up our placket. So I finished the hand stitching. The last thing we need to do is put right sides together of our skirt, including the placket. Okay, line that up. And I'm going to get one of my clips right here to just clip it together. And we have one little bit of stitching to do, and we're going to do this on the machine. So I am going to stitch a diagonal line straight across this placket. I'm going to mark it with my purple marker so you can see what I'm talking about. And it's going to go from the corner here, 45-degree angle up and over. And I'm just stitching the placket together. I'm going to make sure I don't catch the skirt down here. So I'm actually going to put my needle right here and stitch right off the edge. You want to stitch this with your regular stitch foot. I have on my open toe just so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I've got these two, the placket back to back, right sides together I've got my needle down right at the beginning of the placket, so I make sure I don't have my skirt, and I'm just gonna go forward, and I'm gonna back the whole way. And forward again and right off the edge. Okay, so there's my finished stitching. And what that does, I think you can see, is it just helps reinforce that bottom little V. So I wish you could feel this. When you do it, you'll be able to see. But because of that stitching, you're now not putting any real pressure on this weak point at the bottom. Okay, the last thing we have to do is, with the right side facing you, you're going to take the right placket and just turn it to the wrong side, right there. And now in the seam allowance up here, I'm just going to stitch right across it just to hold it there. And you don't even have to back tack. It's going to get sewn in the seam allowance when we attach the bodice and the skirt. And here is our finished skirt placket. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? I hope not. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Our next lesson, we're going to be putting our skirt together. So happy sewing. And here is our finished skirt placket. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? I hope not. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Our next lesson, we're going to be putting our skirt together. So happy sewing.